HiFiMan Arya Unveiled, finally here in Malaysia. Priced at 6,260 ringgit in Shopee from Red Ape Audio, and internationally it will be anywhere around from 1,004 to almost 1,005. This is the most premium version of Arya so far, and Arya is very popular. And on top of talking about this Arya Unveiled, I will also be doing comparison with the other two Arya, which is also very popular. Now let's get onto it. Have a look at this. All three of them side by side. HiFiMan Arya Stealth, HiFiMan Arya Organic, and now HiFiMan Arya Unveiled. Pretty much very similar in many ways, almost identical I would say, when it comes to build, construction and design. They are all already premium starting from this Stealth. And as you can see here, this Unveiled of course being all exposed, totally exposed with the driver element itself. And it comes with this face plate here, which is intended to protect the driver here fully exposed when you are not using it. You are not supposed to use this when you're listening to music, otherwise it would sound kind of a bit weird. As you can see here, it is entirely clad in black, gloss finishing, which also means that this thing is a fingerprint magnet. Inside here, the exposed driver is perhaps one of the most advanced, most refined magnetic planar driver yet in this Unveiled series. For this Arya series especially, and wearing it is just super comfortable. One of the key things that I love HiFiMan sort of design, as opposed to this circular type of HiFiMan Sundara, despite being bigger, it is surprisingly more comfortable. In fact, perhaps the most comfortable, pretty much similar to Susvara kind of feeling, with this ear pad here, soft, never too thick, and it does not accumulate any kind of heat. And of course, being open back, this thing is totally open. So you're gonna hear everything and everybody will hear whichever music that you're playing here. The headband here, the ear cup here, they are so elongated that to a point that it was so comfortable. I was able to wear this literally half a day without any issue at all with fatigue, with any kind of discomfort or anything. And the bonus part is that I was able to use this even when lying down on my bed, on my pillow, because of this elongated shape. When it comes to build, comfort, everything except for seal and isolation, this is top notch. When it comes to magnetic planar, there's always this question. Can my digital audio player, can my DAC amp or my dongle drive them properly to the fullest potential, 100%? Let's just have a look here. This HiFiMan Arya Stealth, rated at 32 ohm, 94 dB of sensitivity, has been known to be difficult to drive, to get 100% from it. And this HiFiMan Arya Organic here, surprisingly, is actually the easiest, the most efficient among all three of them, rated at 16 ohm, 94 dB of sensitivity. And this HiFiMan Arya Unveiled here, rated at 27 ohm, 94 dB of sensitivity, is pretty much somewhere in between. The first time when I received this, I immediately attached it to my phone here. Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV, directly from the 3.5mm single-ended, not very powerful, just for the sake of curiosity, okay? And I was pleasantly surprised. This thing and this, they actually sounded quite decent. Quite decent because I am hearing proper listening loudness at around 90% out of 100 to get something which I would consider as entertaining. But of course, it is perhaps as close as around 50% of this can deliver. And being magnetic planar, just like many other magnetic planar, of course, it will scale exceedingly well with power, especially when I attach it to this X-Duo XD05T here, my favorite portable tube amplifier, rated at 1500 milliwatt of power at 32 ohm, or even my Burson audio playmat there, sitting over there, which is Class A amplifier rated at 3000 milliwatt of power at 32 ohm, or even HiB FD5. But surprisingly, the best output, 100%, which I'm getting from this HiFiMan Arya Unveiled is from this guy here, iBasso DX340, running from the 4.4mm balance, high gain mode, and this thing is rated at 2000 milliwatt of power at 32 ohm. These two, they are just simply mind-blowingly good. The synergy and everything, the sound is just super rich, the dynamic transient and everything is just simply perfect. This is the kind of sound which I would consider as endgame. Since the very first day when I received this HiFiMan Arya Unveiled, until today, I've been listening and using this on regular basis, daily basis. And I have also been spending quite a bit of time comparing this against the other two siblings, which is this Stealth and Organic. And I'm just gonna openly declare this. This HiFiMan Arya Unveiled, without doubt, is the very best Arya so far. And I will explain why. Let's just talk about sound and performance. Let's start with the headroom itself. The kind of volume needed to run them properly. When attached to my Burson Audio Playmat 2, which is 3000 milliwatt Class A amplifier, this Stealth needed at around 28 out of 100. Pretty much very standard, as expected from any magnetic planar headphone, I would say. And this Organic here, surprisingly, or perhaps not surprisingly, being super efficient, needed only 12 out of 100. And this Unveiled here, very impressive as well, at 14 out of 100, 14 out of 100. So that is crazy efficient, because if I were to compare this against some of my other magnetic planar, even Sundara or even Forstec T40RP Mark III, those headphones needed close to 30 or even 40 out of 100 to get proper headroom. So I would say that this thing is super efficient. One of the very reason anybody would want to have magnetic planar is because transient speed, the way they handle the dynamic itself. So all three I classify as being fast, just like any very well-tuned magnetic planar. And this one being fast and energetic. This thing is actually smooth and polished, and this thing is fast and polished. So what does it mean? It means that this thing a bit more energetic, especially with the upper frequency and even the lower frequency. And I can feel that it is the kind of similarity with HiFiMan Sundara in many ways, but a bit more refined, of course. And this one sounded a bit more like dynamic driver rather than magnetic planar, but it does offer that magnetic planar kind of speed. And this thing is the most refined among all of them. It is just simply fast and polished, meaning that everything from the transient, lower frequency, mid-range to the upper frequency, everything just flow effortlessly. And when it comes to the timbre itself, very important to me. One of the most common complaints that people say about magnetic planar is that they don't sound natural enough. And I'm just going to simply say, when it comes to this Stealth, it does sound like a traditional magnetic planar, which is kind of a bit, edgy, but it does not sound metallic at all. At least when I compare with some other magnetic planar like the lower end HiFiMan like HE400 SE. And this thing sounded like dynamic driver. It is in fact the warmest sounding Arya or the warmest sounding magnetic planar from HiFiMan so far. And this one I consider as being natural and transparent. So transparent means that it is uncolored. In general, among all three of them, this Stealth here offer a bit more of like similar to like V sound curve, perhaps very mild V sound curve. Is a bit more like say closer to neutral target. And this thing is a bit more mid-centric, this Organic here. So if you love mid-range, this is the one to go for. But if you want something which I would consider as reference grade, something which you can use for monitoring, something which is uncolored, something which does not exhibit any kind of influence of adjustment to the sound itself, accuracy, then you get HiFiMan Arya Unveiled among all three of them. And when it comes to resolution, details and imaging, without doubt, this is also a bit more improved over the other two. Not to say that these two are not resolving, they are already exceedingly resolving. It's just that the handling of macro and micro detail on this HiFiMan Arya Unveiled is a bit more pronounced, which also means it is not as forgiving as the other two. The most forgiving among all three of them is in fact this HiFiMan Arya Organic here, because it can handle even low resolution, lo-fi kind of music. So I can practically listen to any type of music without worrying of hearing any kind of artifact from the recording. But I cannot say the same thing when I compare it against this HiFiMan Arya Stealth or even this, especially this Unveiled, because this thing will reveal everything. So if you have imperfection in your recording, you're gonna hear it, okay? The most flexible of all of them is in fact this HiFiMan Arya Unveiled, because being natural, transparent, it is very faithful to presenting the kind of sound which was intended by the recording itself. HiFiMan Arya Organic does exhibit a bit of coloration. The kind of good coloration, the kind of coloration that give you immersion to the music itself. It is more musical than any of the other two. And this one is a bit more set somewhere in between. It is kind of like transparent, but it is also just slightly a bit colored when it comes to the upper frequency and perhaps even the lower frequency. I'll try to be as concise as possible when talking about the three sound segment, which is the treble, the mid-range, and the lower frequency. So let's just start with the treble itself. All three of them are just simply excellent when it comes to treble sound quality and performance. For example, all of them are just crisp sounding, detail, macro and micro detail, highly resolving, accurate, vibrant, and energetic. And I would even say that this Stealth edition here is the one with the most pronounced macro detail. And this organic here, as the name implies, being organic, is in fact the warmest sounding among all of them when it comes to treble, because I do feel that it has a bit of dampening with the upper frequency, not as bright sounding as the other two. So if you're sensitive to treble, but you still would want to have that treble detail, decays, and also micro detail, this is the one to go for. But if you want the absolute best performance in the upper frequency, transparency, neutrality, and resolution, and with also extension, Unveiled is the one to go for. And when it comes to mid-range, again, the keyword here is being transparent and neutral, uncolored. This is the champion, HiFiMan Arya Unveiled, because I am not hearing any kind of coloration. This is the most accurate sounding when it comes to mid-range. And this HiFiMan Arya Organic here, perhaps for somebody who loves mid-range, something which is a bit more frontal, something which is a bit more denser, a bit more colored with the mid-range itself. It is, in fact, like I mentioned, being warmer sounding. And this one is a bit subdued. Not to say subdued, perhaps the placing of the mid-range itself kind of a bit further away from the listener, but it is as impressive as it can be. And when it comes to lower frequency, if you love thick, rich sounding lower frequency, without doubt, you would want to go for this HiFiMan Arya Organic here, because it focuses a bit more on the sub bass. So it is highly suitable for certain type of music, electronic music, or even let's say blues music, rock and metal music. And the mid bass is also fairly good, but I would say that if you prefer a bit more of mid bass focus, less on sub bass, a bit more roll off on the sub bass, then this Stealth would offer it. And this one is just totally neutral. It is very well balanced between mid bass and sub bass. It is in fact the most uncolored lower frequency that I have heard so far from any HiFiMan headphone. The widest sounding among all of them is this HiFiMan Arya Stealth. It is wide and it is open sounding. And this one being a bit more mid-centric, a bit more frontal, a bit more, let's say, close in, cave in, but not exactly narrow or anything like that. And this one, HiFiMan Arya Unveiled, is kind of a bit similar to this organic. It is circular as it is open sounding. And these two are also very holographic, but this one is a bit more traditional stereotype of presentation. Last but not least, synergy factor, the art of pairing them with the right kind of partner to get the right kind of sound. This HiFiMan Arya Stealth here, I would just simply say that I would not recommend to connect it to an existing and already highly resolving or analytical DAC amp, because the end state, the product of that pairing would be kind of a bit spicy, at least to my hearing. It is a bit more, let's say, clinical rather than musical, and I would even say that this HiFiMan Arya Stealth would need something which is more warm sounding, more analog sounding, to get that proper balance of being musical and analytical. And this HiFiMan Arya Organic seems to be a bit more forgiving. It is a bit more flexible. It doesn't really care whether the source is bright or even, let's say, warm sounding, because if you do connect it to warm sounding, then you get a bit more musicality out of it. And this is where I really love this HiFiMan Arya Unveiled here, because being super transparent, being super, let's say, uncolored, regardless of which type of DAC amp I connect it to, it just simply sounds perfect. Perfect, especially when it comes to the presentation of the body of the sound itself. It sounds rich and dense, and especially if you supply enough power to it, and that source is also very transparent and neutral, uncolored, then the kind of sound which I'm hearing is super suitable for literally anything. Rock, metal music, monitoring, you name it. This HiFiMan Arya Unveiled is just simply the very best among all three of them. If you like what you're hearing, what you're seeing, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. And also please take a moment to click like here. It will really help me out. It is free, by the way. And also please follow me on Instagram, which I have set up very recently. My Instagram will be a platform for me to provide quick updates on the things that I do beyond this video. And again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.